Hi there, everyone. I'm Alex Levin. So good to be here with you this week, as most weeks on Sunday Eastern Time, 10 o'clock, but recorded for whoever for if posterity. Hi, Mary Beth. Is the sound clear? Let me know that I can see the chat from here. Um, a clear sound last week. I'm sorry, the recordings. I think it went in and out, and then the recording was fairly poor after that. Thank you. Sounds great. So just using one. I'll have to reinvest in new AirPods probably soon, but this will keep me going one-legged for now, one-eared. So get what you need to join for small for listening to a little bit of my theme, for a little bit of movement. Could be from seated, laying down on your side in a chair, comfortable. I've got things to throw around me, around my body. If it gets too cold, I've got cushions to put under my knees. Well, the movement will be just from sitting, usually very, very small movement, or it can be from other position. We're here today in this community, Sun and Moon Yoga Studio, and I'm remembering, I'm always emphasizing, seems like every time I guide us, the importance of community to me. And I was remembering that many years ago, and with the opportunity to study with a very esteemed teacher from India, Mr. Desikachar. It was a therapeutics seminar, and one of the comments he made was that of the various techniques we were learning to observe and and to meet and to offer options for healing, toward healing, the most powerful one, what he saw as most powerful in people who had become better from whatever condition they were hoping for relief from, was community. I mean, you can think of yoga movement, sound. Some people say sound is the most powerful. I think I read that in a book by David Frawley. But community, so having some sort of community, and many of us have families, spiritual communities, work communities, social communities, so different circles of communities. But excuse me. I think it's important. It doesn't matter how many you have, maybe the quality, or just having some that are really, really serve you. And I guess because I bring that up now as I speak of it so often, as I ruminate on something, another question arises, that idea of, what about the quality of it? What many people are estranged from family members, or have friends for a time, but then they move away and have different friends. So that's something to add to our inquiry list, right? All right, so it's not the theme of mine today. The theme, as you settle in, I'm having a little phlegm. So let's actually, before I start into the theme, let's get ourselves settled and arrived. And you may have already been doing that as you've joined me. And speaking of community, there's all of you who join me regularly, or sometimes, or newly, from various places on the planet. I feel that you're here with me. Even if I don't know you're here with me. And so by now habit, my first way of arriving, when I consciously do so, is through the body. So a lot of my life is lived in my head, and that's probably true for many of us. And to just now add the attention, add into our vast consciousness, ability to be conscious, add attention to the body. So now the body is very much in the foreground. And in particular, we can zoom into the parts of the body against the ground. And we're moving towards stillness. I'm moving because my legs are cold. Putting a shawl on my legs. And there's nothing you need to do, just attention, just let the beam of attention linger there. Feels like a pretty wide beam compared to zooming into my baby toe. And I'm still open. My consciousness is not closed off. I'm open to the bird sounds outside. Which links us to another one of my three key cues for arriving and sensing presence is space around or sound. And I looked around to see which pets are in the room. Just Rocky right over there. Just lightly sensing how the weight is felt through the bones and skin and mass of my legs and derriere and the smaller parts of my ankles and feet, and my lower legs. So like me, you might shift to add whatever you need to be more comfortable until we get to the meditation piece, which we want to stay really still without being rigid or too dogmatic about it. And yet it's powerful. And then breath. I just noticed my attention go to the breath. So it's ground, sound, or space around, and breath. Ground, sound, breath. Make it nice, monosyllabic trio. And already, from our community, from our intention, from these cues, you may start to feel more of something, more of your aliveness at this present moment, more of a groundedness, more of a centeredness. But don't let my prophecy of that deprive you of your own direct experience. In the ground pointer, part of what you might sense is the pull downward, the force of gravity of Earth's, I call it Earth's hug. She's pulling us toward her center. And we can also then, so in that I feel my shoulders relaxing a little bit. I might even feel myself slump a little bit and just allow that. I think it's very useful to feel fully that pull. And I know we've been trained, especially if you're choosing a seated posture, to be very upright and tall and neutral in the spine rather than rounded in either direction. But this is this element of or this particular part of the practice is to help us get more and more familiar, build that bridge to groundedness through gravity more and more. And then you might, when you feel ready for it, you can stay a little slumped if that's what you find. If you're sitting for a while, but you can also allow the opposite force of levity, the complementary and opposite force to happen perhaps by the feel of breath in the body, and perhaps just by its natural feel when we push down. If you I push, really push through, lean through my base, I lift up. But then you can stop the pushing and just relax there. So, what I've been talking to you about, my pointers, my method for arriving, you might have been in your foreground right now. Possibly something different maybe have been also in your foreground, or if something is just demanding your attention, that might be what's in your foreground. I'd like to note, just sort of a sidebar, how you might sense that how easily attention can move some of the time. So maybe as I've spoken, your attention has moved with me to different things, sometimes be, in the direction that you wanted, and sometimes just it just popped into some concern of yours or some enjoyable plan of yours, some distraction, but it moves easily, right? And then sometimes we just can't move attention. And this is once again something that we can lay down a pathway that's more firm, like a path through the woods. If it's only gone through once, it might not see it. But the more some animals or some humans go through, the grass is trod, and we see the path. Grass is patted down. What's been in the foreground? And then I invite you right now, wherever your attention beam is, whatever's in the foreground, to sense how the background is here. And the background could be, if it's in the everything, all the world of form, everything that we can name and sense, and everything that's impermanent, the background will be this space. It'll be related to the space around idea, to the town you're in, to the country you're in, to the planet we're on, to the galaxy we're in, et cetera, et cetera. But there's another kind, I'll say it's another kind, but really of a different order of background that could even be felt when you go deep inside. So now it's the background, the presence that's permanent, boundless and timeless. Or boundless spatially and temporally. Do you have a taste of it? We'll come back to that. And if you don't worry about it. And if you do, likely if you've been practicing at all, you know it strongly and you want to have a path back to that more often, more and more often. But in that wanting is the dilemma. I'll get back to that. So let's deepen our breath just a little, just gently, gently, like lightly. Like just slightly, almost just allow your body to relax more, to allow a deeper in breath rather than pulling or pushing in a deeper in breath. Allow yourself to stay relaxed on the out breath. So there may be some habit of contracting the abdomen, the belly in particular on the out breath. And it's pretty natural as well. It's not like, but imagine staying more relaxed on the out breath. If you notice, just watch that. So the in breath is just a little deeper, a little bigger. Anywhere you can imagine it filling into the heart space, the lung space, the midriff space, the belly, the sacrum. You can even imagine it kind of flowing as if it flows into your shoulders, head, arms, legs, feet. In a sense, the oxygen does get there. In a sense, everything that pushes where the air does actually go, kind of in a domino effect, does affect all the way to our skin in the fingertips and the toes and the arches of the feet. Notice what's in the foreground, what's in the background. Moving between those two, or maybe holding both of them at once, or when you go into the background, do you notice yourself that the foreground is still there in a tiny, like, echo of a way? And you go into the foreground of feeling the breath in the body. Can we notice that the background is there, the limited and the infinite background? So maybe I have three things: foreground, background, in the infinite, in the finite realm, and then the background, which I'm naming the infinite, spatially and temporally. So ever so slightly with your inhale, or it's a fairly big movement comparatively, let's take one arm up, and as we exhale, tilt over to the side a little bit. Inhale, lifting straight up the arm, and if you're lying down, you can do this just in the direction of the head. And exhale the arm down. Let's take the same side for a while, for a few repetitions. Inhale, reaching up gently, lightly, not like having to go to your maximum. It's really a useful practice. Inhale as we come vertical, more upright, and then exhale back down. It's useful because we see a little bit more and we don't engage. When we slow down and don't go to our maximum, we inhibit some of the automatic habitual movements. We make space to see what different movement might be available. And perhaps if you like, you can stay to this one side in a very comfortable way. So if you find yourself straining or over compressed in any part, Rock appears interested in what I'm doing. Breathing comfortably. If you find yourself straining or compressing too much, let it go. Loosen up. You've got the power. You've got the controls to loosen it in some way. Sometimes it's a tiny tilt. It's a releasing from the depth of the movement. And the other side, start with inhaling, just lifting tall, feeling the entirety of you, not losing that background of the base as where foreground becomes the movement of the shoulder, the arm, perhaps the opening of the rib cage. With the breath, softness. Sensing all of yourself, in addition to the parts that make the most oomph, make the most come into your foreground. Sense the background, the space around, planet under us, the territory within us. After a few repetitions, moving, perhaps just holding still. Little tiny micro movements to keep yourself out of trouble. And release when you're ready, and just come to a place where you can find yourself very still. You might just be still for as you've come out of that movement, just before you got what I did. I started adjusting the wrap around my legs. But I've interrupted that just to savor the feel that happens after something we did, a practice we enlisted. There's always an effect, even if we might not sense it. It's good to make that time, and in time you'll become more and more sensitive to, be more and more receptive and sensitive to what change there is. What is that? Make note of it. Make a mental note. Write it on your sticky or your notepad, paper or electronic, in your mind for now. But it's not a bad idea to have a notepad near you as well, especially if interesting ideas come. All right, one more. So do what you need, as I'm needing to wrap up a little more warmly in my space for coming into the still piece. For about 7 minutes. So readjust anything that you're sitting on, or under your legs, or under your knees if you're lying down, or to cover yourself up. And let's re-find that arrival that we did about 20 minutes ago through our body, consciously. Through the breath. Through the sound and space around that is inherently connecting inner and outer, because we're sensing it from inside ourselves with the faculties of perception. And make a commitment to stillness. And so the stillness helps us to have more ease with the movement of our attention, have more, the word that's coming is control, but I don't want to use that word, but for now, have more control, have more wise response. So my teacher was sharing the story of how for him, it became the definition of heaven and hell came. And I'm just going to abbreviate his story, but in sitting in meditation, a long meditation, I think it was an hour. going along swimmingly, and then a fly lands on his nose. All kinds of thoughts came in, and that became the definition of hell, that he was not to move and the fly was there, irritating, totally in the foreground. And then, miraculously, a huge gift, the fly took off. His taste of heaven. So our mind plays between these two, foreground, background, and the different states, heaven and hell. And we can sink beneath or beyond or before, I'm not sure, it's not really a direction, into that background with a capital B. Always here, never abandons us. And in a gift that we have is we can sense it right through whatever is in our finite foreground or background. The image I put as the thumbnail in a walk yesterday, a very cold walk, those bright red berries were in this little urban garden in front of the 7-Eleven. Beautiful little garden that drew my attention with the sun, the setting sun on them. And as I even imagined that, I sense I was looking out and feeling that infinite background. And in a sense, so that's like through something very particular and kind of small in the foreground. But we could be looking out. We could be looking out to the night sky. And somehow a sense of wonder slides us right into that, the infinite. So I invite you, however you're getting there, however you're looking toward the infinite. Sometimes people sense it if they imagine themselves looking down at themselves from above or from behind. Because then the sensing goes out boundlessly, not limited to the body. If you're getting glimpses or stretches of this infinity, linger with it, if possible, without grasping. Sense it through your body, through the words or images you might give to it. Through the feeling of it. Emotionally as well as physically. Words, but without ownership. signifying the end of our meditation. Let's linger here. Sometimes this is a very potent part, again, at the end of an intentional practice as we transition. Very useful to make note. A good use of our mind that helps lay down the map of where we might go. It'll never be exactly the same, but it helps us shift. It helps us jump toward or open toward. It's a great paradox in a way. In order to really find and refine, we actually need to let go of holding on to what we know. And yet it's very helpful to lay down the map. And the map is partly through our language, the use of language. So when we have images and words, but if it's only that, that's kind of where the trap is. If we can have the language, but then connect it to the felt sense, which is always only available in the right here, right now. The words keep going for us. We have memory of those. But the felt sense is always fresh. Even if it's very, 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 very similar, it's never actually exactly the same. So it's without a grabbing, but with a letting go. And for this, we have the complement. We've been working with the complement of being centered and grounded. So we know we're not safe. We may keep ourselves in a safe place, psychically and physically. Anyhow, that's a whole other theme. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, my dear community, for if you're here with me in the live stream time or later. And do check out, as I always invite you to, sunandmoonstudio.com. Join us virtually or in person. We hope to be opening a second studio again in our Fairfax sometime in the next months, maybe spring. I don't know the status of that. My news is a little old on that. So enjoy your day. See you next week. Peace. No glimpse of the animals today.